Hey, so I made 2048. Remember that game where you slide stuff? Yeah. So here's the code. Let's start from the top. So int random, you're gonna need that for putting in your numbers onto the board. Here's your score. Game over. Obviously, that's just a boolean that tells you when the game is finished. A function that will tell you how to play the game. Press up, SAD, to input movements to the game. So from here we go to the main function. So this is going to be just reading in inputs from the user and then making the appropriate calls to those functions. So while not game over, so it's going to be a continuous loop until we hit some endpoint. Um, so you get your user input. Well, before that, you add a 2 to the board that we created here. Create a board, then you go into here, add a 2, print the board, get the user input, and then make the appropriate adjustment from there. So from there, we go down. So printing the board is just what it sounds like. You just go through each number, print it out. So if this is your first time looking at a 2D for loop, so it's just 2 down. So for this case, it's going to be n by n. So we go, so you can imagine it as 0, 0, 0, 1, onwards. So just to give you a quick visual, so it'd be like this, and then another layer like this, and then the coordinates for each one would be 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. So what we're doing here is we're gonna create the XY coordinates for each one and then go to that location and then fetch that value. So we're also going to be updating our score here for when we're going through, just because it's the easiest time to check. You could also just check as you're going along, like put it into one of these functions to update the max score that you can get. It'd probably be less memory. I just didn't want to go through the hassle of making a global variable and then updating that same thing over and over again in all of these, just because they're going to be recursive, and it just seems like too many calls. This just seemed a bit easier for me. Um, so these functions for up, down, left, right, these are called. This is regression or recursion. Sorry. uh, so you call the same function over and over again until something happens, like some new situation appears. So for here, we're going to go through the board. So to move up, we don't need to look at the topmost one because we're going to be comparing that one to everything below it. So the first two above are going to be the ones that we're going to compare. If the one below the top line, that top row, if the one below it is not 0 and the one above is 0, then we want to switch those. And then we're going to keep going because we want to be able to slide it all the way to the top. And if we didn't do that, it would stop at the moment it hits a 0. So if you had like a board that was like 0, 0, 0, and then 0, 0, 0, and then 2, 0, 0, 0. If we did it without using recursive change, it would just do this instead of putting it all the way to the top when we wanted to move up. So this would just keep calling it to keep hitting that location until we hit this part, which is or neither, because there's the situation where The top is already the max and the bottom is 0. So in the next situation, you're going to see that if both are equal, so in that situation, we can combine them. So if you have 2 and 2, they become 4. So in that situation, you could just change the above one to double its value and the bottom one to 0, which would be enough. And the logic for the remaining functions is about the same. So it's just different values that we check. So in this situation, we check the bottommost row, and then the leftmost column, and then the rightmost column. But it's the same logic applied to each one. So this is a very simple situation for recursive algorithms. I wouldn't call this depth first search, but it is going in one direction all the way through. But it's a very simple way of doing that. If you don't know what that is, that's just going one way all the way through. Every possibility of code with recursive going all the way to the end. So yeah, that's how you would solve like maze problems and stuff. We're using that for this though. From here, create board, that's just generating a board of empty zeros. So you append an n number of zeros to a board and then you return it. It's pretty simple. So game over situation, we change game over to true, print the score, that's it. I was actually having issues with that. I don't think I saw game over being called. Oh, because I don't really call it anywhere. That's fine. I can update that now. Okay, so board. So here we add 2 board, and so what this function is going to do is just add a 2 where possible. So for 0x, 0y, so we're going to keep track of all the zeros that we have in our array, just because we want to know what our options are for putting down this 2. And if there are no options, then that means that it's game over. So for I blah 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 blah, that should be correct. Yeah. If game over. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if game over, it just pauses, and then from here, our 0, x, and y coordinates are appended, so we know all the zeros that we can possibly have, or the game's over. And if we get to this point, then we're going to pick one random 0 placement, and then we're going to change that random 0 placement to a 2, and that's it. And that should be our function. Okay, so I didn't want to go through the hassle of running through everything, so I just I really did. Like, it takes a while for it to get to the end, so I just wanted to show you guys. So we start off our game, random 2 at the bottom. I press up, it slides up. 2, slide it up again. Oh, wait, no, I went to the other way. And it slides to the left, and then so on. You can see them combining. And now if we want to go to the end, we see our value is being printed, and then it prints the list again, but it's over. Like, I think there might be an issue with the print function, but the game itself seems to be working. It shows you your score, which is good enough for me, and it seems to play the actual game. So if you want to do anything else with this, it's yours. The code is going to be posted. Thanks. See you around.